everybody, Sister Fantastic here, and today's video is going to be a collab with my friend Lois and some gals that have come together to do soup, stew, or chili. And so I decided I was going to make soup. So I'm starting out with some water that's heating up, and I've got some boneless, skinless chicken breasts here, and we're going to create a stock. And so we're going to boil the chicken, and we'll have the broth, and we'll put some salt in the water. And then over here is the chopping station near the sink. And we've got some vegetables here, some carrots and onions and celery. And there's a zucchini. And then we've got some canned tomatoes and some tomato sauce and some green beans. So we're doing low carb chicken vegetable soup is what we're going to be making. So this is going to be fairly easy. You know, you just heat up the water and add a little bit of salt, boil the chicken, and we're going to add in some of the vegetables and the tomatoes and everything, and we're just going to cook everything down. We're going to season it here. I've got some basil and some thyme and some bay leaves and some marjoram, however you pronounce this, marjoram. Anyway, and so it's just going to be pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of what we're starting out with here. And so anyhow, I will come back once I get ready to measure out the seasonings, and we'll show you what we're doing. Alright, we got the chicken breast in the water. It's about ready to come to a boil. The salt has been added, and we're going to put a lid on it because we don't want to reduce our chicken broth. We want it to be nice and juicy. So anyway, this is a 8-quart saucepan, and we filled it about 1/3 of the way filled with water. And you can see that the chicken is going to be easy to deal with because there are no bones and there is no skin, but it's going to create a nice broth with the vegetables. So anyway, we'll be back as soon as the chicken gets done and it floats to the top, which is going to take probably about 30 to 45 minutes. Alright y'all, we're at the point now where the chicken's done. It's floating on top of the water. That's how you know. And the broth has been created. So now we have all these vegetables that we chopped up, the carrots, the onions, the celery, we had some zucchini, and so we're ready to add all of this in to the chicken and the broth. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and we're going to get that going, and then we're going to add green beans. Got 2 cans of green beans, and drained the water out of the green beans. And then we have 2 cans of diced tomatoes and 2 cans of tomato sauce. And so we're going to put all of this together, and we're going to let it boil for another few minutes or so. And then we're going to add the spices, and then any leftovers that you have in the refrigerator. For example, I've got this bowl here. It's kielbasa. It's like Polish sausage with cabbage. And there's a little bit of bell pepper, and I can't remember what all we put in it, onion maybe. But anyhow, that's left over, and so we want to use that up. So we're going to toss that in the soup as well. So that's the thing about making vegetable soup, is that you can, you know, add your leftovers into the pot, and it just creates a nice, you know, additional substance for the soup, and you clean your leftovers out of the refrigerator. Alright, we'll be back soon, and then we'll season everything, and I'll show you what it all looks like in the pot once it's put together. Okay y'all, this is the pot that has all the vegetables and the tomatoes and everything in it. We pulled out the chicken breasts, and so they're over here cooling on the cutting board, and we're going to cut those into like little bite-sized chunks, and we're going to add that back into the soup. And then we're going to let this simmer for about 30 minutes, and then we're going to add the spices and then the leftovers that we have in here. And then once all that's added, then we'll let it simmer a little while longer and let the flavors marry together, and then we'll finish it off and I'll come back. Alright y'all, this is what the soup looks like so far. We've got all the vegetables and the sausage and the chicken and the tomatoes and everything is in here, and it's boiled, and you can see that the broth has got like that nice sheen right there. So there's you know, some flavor from the chicken. And now we're at a place where we're ready to add the seasoning. So we have not added any salt and pepper since that initial boiling of the chicken. So that's what we're fixing to do now. We're going to put in a tablespoon of salt, kosher salt. So he's helping me, my husband's helping me here. So we're just gonna sprinkle that in. Okay, and then a half a tablespoon of black pepper. And then we're going to add in a couple of bay leaves. Alright, so there's the pepper. That's going to add some nice heat. You want to season. I mean, you've got a whole big pot here, so don't be afraid of the seasoning. All right, then we're going to add in a teaspoon of the marjoram, or marjoram, however you want to pronounce it. Okay, and then a teaspoon of the basil. Okay, and then we're going to add in a half of a teaspoon of the thyme. And this is a pretty strong seasoning here, so you just need a little bit. Alright, and then we're going to add in a couple of bay leaves. Now we're down to the end of our bay leaf container here, and they may be some broken pieces, but we're going to try to find some fairly, you know, large ones here, and maybe use like 4 that size, since we don't have 2 bay leaves. We're just going to put in some pieces. That's good right there. Okay, and then we're just going to give it another big stir and just let all these seasonings just marry in with, and already I can smell that basil mixing. And basil and tomatoes is a marriage made in heaven. So there is the seasonings added. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put a lid on it, and we're going to let this boil on medium-low heat for about 30 more minutes, and then it'll be ready to eat. But let me tell y'all something, the soup always tastes best the next day after the seasonings have a chance to marry overnight in the refrigerator with the food. And so anyhow, even though we may want to eat a bowl today, it's going to taste better tomorrow. So just a tip there for you. Okay, we'll come back and show you what it looks like in the bowl. Alright y'all, this is the finished product. This is the soup in the bowl, and look at that rich broth. You can see that gleam and that shine on the top of the soup, and it's not from a lot of fat because there wasn't any fat on, you know, no skin was on the chicken. But anyway, you see all the vegetables and the yummy meats and all that yummy broth, and it's seasoned really well, and it's just a really great soup. It's super nourishing, full of, it's nutrient dense, and hardly any carbs at all per serving, because we used all low carb vegetables. You could put anything really low carb in this that you wanted to. We've used bok choy, we've used kale, we've used collard greens, we've used mushrooms, you know, pretty much anything that you want in this soup. This is probably our favorite way to make it, and it's kind of got the seasonings that I used are, you know, they spice it up really good. But Cajun seasoning, there's a chef's Cajun seasoning that you can get like at Walmart, and you know, with the sausage and the chicken, you know, you could add okra and kind of, not really a gumbo type soup, but it could have kind of like those flavors, that flavor profile, you know. And you could use some, you know, you can change it up just a little bit. Water chestnuts, you know, you could use broccoli or cauliflower, anything like that would be really, really good. So the vegetables are pretty much your choice. You know, this doesn't even have to be low carb. If you wanted to add beans and corn or whatever you wanted, you could do Mexican spices, you know, and make it like a Mexican soup. You know, it's a really versatile, but the basic thing is getting that broth, that chicken broth, created by boiling the chicken in some salt water, and then adding in the carrots, the celery, the onions, you know, those 3 basic vegetables right there. And then you've got a really nice stock, and then of course you're going to add tomatoes and tomato sauce. So sometimes I use stewed tomatoes. If I don't have stewed tomatoes, I use, you know, crushed tomatoes or diced tomatoes or whole tomatoes. I can crush those up myself, you know. But anyway, you got to get some tomatoes in there. But anyway, that chicken broth mixed with the tomatoes is what gives you this rich, rich broth, and that's what makes the soup. So anyway, that is my soup video. Lois, thank you for inviting me. This was awesome. I can't wait to see everyone else's recipes. That you guys have to let me know down in the comments if you make this, and let me know how you like it. So anyway, thank you for watching. God bless you today is my prayer, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.